when you have a kid that's that more extreme picky eater, the first thing is to never make them try anything.
Welcome to the Helping Kids Be Kids podcast with Little Lighthouse. I'm Ann Chinworth. I'm the outreach manager here at Little Lighthouse, and I'm here today with our director of education, Hannah Jimenez.
Hi.
And we are talking about all the senses and sensory processing today. So today we're going to be talking about the gustatory sense, which is taste, if you don't know the scientific word. I'm probably going to stutter over that word a lot today, gustatory. But we're just going to jump right in. So what is gustatory processing?
Yeah, so just really simply put, it's how our body uses our tongue and our taste buds to take in taste and send it to our brain, and it's how our brain processes that information and uses it to understand different foods, really.
Okay. And we know that, you know, people process different senses in different ways. So what does that look like in relation to the gustatory system?
Yeah, so we have what we call kind of like seekers and avoiders. And when someone's avoiding a sense, it's because they have a really low threshold for that. So if you have a really low taste threshold, you're probably going to taste things like very intensely. So things that like other people might think aren't very flavorful, you might think is like really spicy, or like things that are like, you know, like maybe an orange is a little bit tart, you might feel like it's really sour.
Okay.
And so when we have kids who have that like low threshold for taste, they're usually going to avoid a lot of different foods.
Okay.
And they're not going to like anything that's like strongly flavored, and they're usually going to be the kids who like just very simple like chicken nuggets and applesauce and, you know, very like plain flavored foods. On the opposite end of that, when you have a really high threshold for taste, you're going to want like lots of flavors, lots of like really strong flavors to like really taste it, because you don't like taste things that are as mild as easily. And so that's going to look like kids who love like the kids who love hot Cheetos and Takis. Those kids have a high threshold for taste. When you have people who like love sour candies.
Yes.
So like I have some sour candies right here.
I love sour
I was
candies.
going to see, what do you think your threshold is like for taste?
I feel like I'm in the middle. Like I don't love super, super spicy. And I don't hate it either. And I'm not a picky eater, I wouldn't say. Like there are very few foods that I'm like, I can't.
So you're going to say no to? Yeah. Okay, so let's try one and see what we think.
I do love sour.
These are sour.
I don't know how sour these are, though. I'm kind of intimidated.
Let's see.
You didn't know you were coming to an ASMR podcast, did you?
Try not to chew in the mic.
I know, I'm like, sorry, it's probably gross. Oh, these aren't that sour.
No, they aren't.
I was expecting like warheads.
This is like very kind of like a strong like lemon flavor though. So I could see someone who has that like low threshold being like, oh, I don't like that, and spitting it out, because it's like kind of a strong, it's a pretty strong taste, even though it's not as sour as I expected.
So what are some strategies, like parents or teachers or other caregivers, what are some strategies they can use to include both those sensory seekers and sensory avoiders? Yeah,
so I think when planning foods, especially, like just don't get stressed about it. Like we get really stressed about foods with kids.
Yes.
Because we want them to eat a lot and grow and be healthy. And I think just like, first of all, just like don't be stressed about it. Like it's okay if they don't eat a huge variety of foods right away. You know, there's time to learn. And I think just like providing different things. So like if you're a teacher and you're doing a lesson where you're supposed to like taste different things and eat different things, just don't put pressure on them about it, you know, just like present it. And if they want to try it, they can. If they don't, then it's not a big deal. We do a really fun like watermelon activity here at Little Lighthouse that our transdisciplinary team does, our therapy team. And they use like maybe some like lime or lemon or something that they squeeze into a little watermelon drink that they make, and the kids all get to like touch and taste and feel the different things that they're putting in their little watermelon drink. And I think it's really a great way to engage those kids who seek that like taste, because they're gonna like want to taste the lemon juice and want to taste all the different things, and then it's okay that the others don't. You just don't want to like put pressure on them about it.
That's good. I feel like sometimes one of my nieces is very particular about what she eats, and sometimes I'm like, just eat the food. But I really haven't thought about like, oh, maybe she just has kind of like a lower sensory threshold in that way, and she doesn't have to try that, and I don't need to be mad about it.
Yeah. A lot of times kids who have sensory aversions to taste, they're seen as being really picky eaters. And it's not that they're just like picky and not wanting things. It's that they truly do have like a sensory need. And that it really is overwhelming for them to have things that are too flavorful.
Yeah, that makes sense. So with that, with like if there's a child that has like really extreme aversions to certain foods, like how can we help them in class or at home?
So when you have a kid that's that more extreme picky eater, the first thing is to never make them try anything. They should never be forced to try anything. Research tells us that when kids are forced to try foods, it actually makes their picky eating problem worse. Because it just makes them like shut down then. And so you could have a kid that maybe there's like 5 foods that they eat, and you're making them try different things, and they might actually go down to where they only have 2 or 3 foods that they eat, that's bad. We don't want the number to go down. So never force them. And then the next thing is to always have safe foods available. So always, like, if you're having dinner at home and you make something that they're probably not going to want to eat, put it on their plate anyway so that they get exposed to it. But always have like a safe food available also. So like if you are making, let's say you made lasagna, and they're probably not going to eat it because that's, got those like strong Italian spices. But they'll eat like a piece of like French bread or like toasted bread or something. Like, make sure you have that available for them to eat also. Or it could just be as easy as serving whatever you're serving, but putting like some applesauce on the side, or just things that they're comfortable with so that they're not automatically going to look at their plate and go, I don't want any of that.
Right.
Just making it comfortable for them. And then also giving them opportunities to play and interact with food in just a safe way with no expectations. So we have food school at Little Lighthouse with our speech pathologists. And one of the things they do is they let kids just like play with food. And so they might read a story that has different foods in it, and they'll give them all the foods on their little plates, and the kids will just play with it. There's no like expectation of you have to eat this. It's just, here's these foods from this story. And the more they interact with them, a lot of times you'll see kids who won't try new things, like just playing with it and like licking it or something. And so that's the best way to get kids to try new foods, is to just like present it in a very low pressure environment and just let them play with it and explore and just do it on their own. And then they also use this technique called food chaining, which I think is really interesting. So you would start with, like, if applesauce is a safe food, you could start with just plain applesauce, and then you could mix the next time, try like strawberry applesauce, or not even, you wouldn't even have to go that far. You could start by just like adding some like strawberry puree into regular applesauce, and then maybe the next step would be that like strawberry applesauce. So you've gone from plain applesauce to strawberry applesauce, and then you could try,
don't go too crazy.
Then you could try like mixing in like mashed strawberries or like blended like pureed strawberries even more, and then you could maybe try like just like pureed or mashed strawberries, and then like little pieces of strawberries, and then hopefully the end goal would for them to like be to like try a strawberry. So you just start with the safe food and like slowly incorporate the other food.
Genius. Love it. I think it was one of our speech pathologists was talking about, also it's important to think about what our students or what kids see. Like they might always be served a banana cut up. And then if you show them like a whole banana and you're like, hey, you should try this banana, they're like, no, I don't want that, because it's something new. And so it's also, she was saying it's important to maybe show them the whole process of cutting up a banana so that they know, like, this is the thing that you do like.
Yes.
And I just thought that was really interesting to think about, you know, a banana in its peel versus like a banana cut up on the table. They look totally different and they feel totally different.
Yeah.
And so having them be a part of that process helps them learn that, like, oh, this is the same food. And
yeah, especially at home, just having them understand like where their food comes from and what their different foods are, and just being part of that process. I know, like, as a mom, sometimes I get busy and I'm like, I don't have time to like have you like come in here and know that I'm like cutting and peeling your apple. Like, this is apple is your little bits that I give you that are cut up and peeled. But like showing them like, okay, you're going to have an apple for your snack. Now I'm going to cut it up, or like involving them even in the process of cutting it up. You can buy like little like kid safe knives and things. And that can be really helpful actually for those avoiders. To like be involved in that process of like peeling a banana and cutting it up and like feeling it and interacting with it, and maybe they'll be more likely to want to try it if they were involved in the process. Even in like cooking meals, when you involve kids in cooking meals with you, they're more likely to like, oh, I'm gonna help mom cut up this pepper, I'm gonna pop this in my mouth, you know, like while we're doing it, and then they might like actually want to try it in the meal.
That's great. I love that. So are there specific, we've talked a little bit about our speech language pathologists that seem to know a lot about food. Are there other specialists that can help with figuring out how to help your kid eat?
Yeah. So occupational therapists can also be really helpful with feeding needs. OTs are going to be your like go-to people for any kind of sensory need. They're very like highly trained in that area. And so they can also do feeding therapy. The cool thing at Little Lighthouse is that our speech paths and OTs work together to do feeding therapy and to help like meet the needs of our kids in our classrooms. So if you're in a situation where maybe you're at a clinic that has both and they can kind of work together, that's going to be the most helpful thing, because then they're thinking of kind of all sides of the issue and problem solving together. And it's really amazing.
And I also just thought of this, I don't know if it's a question or a statement. I know in food school they work with our students on, you know, exploring new foods and playing in new foods, but do they also work on different like motor, like I wonder if sometimes our kids not picky eaters because they don't have the skills to eat, like the physical skills to eat.
Yeah, that can be a factor as well. Yeah, and that's usually where the speech pathologists come in, is they're more trained. Well, I guess the OTs probably too. I think all of them kind of would know all of that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, they're so smart.
Yeah.
I
know. They're incredible.
I haven't thought of this before.
But yeah, so picky eating can be caused by different things. A lot of times it is because of the like sensory need though. So I think starting with the sensory need and trying to see if that's what's causing the problem is a really good starting point. And then if that's not it, then it maybe could be more of a physical issue that needs some attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think that's all the questions I have.
Okay.
Do you have any more?
I don't think so.
Well, great. Thank you guys for coming and listening to this episode about the taste sense. Hope you guys learned some stuff. Hope you guys gain some empathy like me for those picky eaters in your life. And we'll see you on the next episode.